I haven't been on a plane since February of 2020. As we all know, the world came to a halt soon after, and as things started to pick up over the last year or so, my wife and I welcomed a baby. And as new parents, we've been trying to figure out this whole parenting thing, so we haven't really had the chance to travel. That's all about to change in the coming weeks as we have a trip planned to the Pacific Northwest, and we couldn't be more excited and nervous at the same time. We have no idea what to expect when it comes to traveling with a baby. So as I prepare to get in the travel mindset, now is a good time to evaluate what tech to take along on the trip. Let's start with the backpack. I still use my Lowepro Fastpack 250. This is the second generation and it's now been discontinued, but they do have a new and improved third gen out there. I think this bag is a great balance for carrying camera gear along with other personal items. It's perfect for day trips to carry essential tech along with me. The bottom compartment is customizable with dividers to store your camera, lenses, and anything camera related. It's also accessible from the side, so it's really easy to pull out your camera as you're going about your day. Now, even though the camera compartment is relatively small compared to bags that are fully dedicated for camera gear, I can still fit a camera with a 24-70 f2.8 lens attached, as well as a 70-200 f2.8 lens on the side, along with maybe a flash or another prime lens if I wanted to. It has a padded laptop compartment on the back and it opens up from the side. It makes it really easy to pull out your laptop on a plane or at a coffee shop. The top compartment is where you can put miscellaneous items, like maybe a small sweater, some spare clothes, some snacks, or basically anything you want. It also has a couple of pockets in the front for things that you want easy access to, like travel documents or a phone charger. I have considered changing up this backpack for some of the fancier ones out there, like the Peter McKinnon Everyday Backpack, but honestly those are quite pricey and I really don't have any issues with this bag to justify spending money on something else just yet. Oh, and did I mention this thing has a built-in rain cover at the bottom? You pull it out from the bottom and you put it on top. This thing should be pretty useful in the Pacific Northwest because we all know it rains quite a bit there. There you go, it's rainproof now. Now during my trip, the primary thing I'll be carrying in this bag is my camera. The camera I use is the Nikon Z6 II, which I'm actually using to film right now. Now before I get comments about my camera choice, just know that I'm still on the fence about Nikon, and there's certain things that I don't really love about it, but the reason why I still use it is because I have thousands of dollars worth of Nikon lenses that I got over the years, and I can just adapt those lenses onto this camera. To switch to another brand would be a very expensive commitment. Although I've had this camera for almost 2 years now, I haven't really had a chance to travel with it until now, so it will be interesting to see how it performs during the trip. Since it is a mirrorless camera, the battery tends to run through faster than DSLRs, so I'm taking 4 batteries with me on this trip because I may use it to record some videos as well. As for lenses, I'm only taking one lens. It's the 24-120 f4 lens. It's an older f-mount version that I'll be adapting to the camera. But since I want to travel light, this is the most versatile lens I have. It's a great balance between having a good range of focal lengths as well as a wide enough aperture for most scenarios. To go along with the camera, I'll be taking my Black Rapid Sling camera strap. I can't stand the straps that go around my neck, and this thing is a lifesaver when it comes to that. It's very comfortable to wear even with really heavy camera gear. I actually like this better than even the Peak design straps, mainly because this thing doesn't drag along my shoulder as I pick up the camera from my hip. Aside from my main camera, I'm also taking an action camera. The one that I use is the DJI Osmo Action. Yes, this thing is more than 3 years old and I honestly still think it's the best action camera you can buy today. Well, I don't know if you can actually buy it today, but it's still the best action camera. I'm sure the Insta360 users will have something to say about it, but even DJI hasn't been able to come up with a better action camera throughout these years. With all due respect to the Action 2 from DJI, it's not a true successor to this camera. But that might all change in the coming days as it seems like DJI is announcing a new version of this camera. But until that happens, I stand by my statement of this camera being the best action camera in the world. I use it mostly for making vlogs. The front-facing screen just makes things so much easier. You can also make hyperlapses and slow-mo videos. Also, the stabilization is very impressive for what it is. I'll also be taking a few accessories for this camera, like this Manfrotto Pixie tripod. It's the perfect mini tripod to pair with this camera to use both as a tripod as well as a selfie stick. Also, this multi-battery charger for the Osmo Action. This thing can charge 3 batteries at the same time with one USB-C cable. Makes it a lot easier to get things ready overnight for the next day's adventures. It also doubles as a battery holder during the day so that your batteries aren't just dangling around in your bag. Speaking of vlogging, I'll be taking my DJI wireless mic system on this trip. Now, I don't specifically have a plan for it, but I may try it out in certain situations to see if it adds any value to my vlogging content. Now, usually I don't like to take stuff on trips that I don't have absolute needs for, but this thing comes in a charging case similar to AirPods that keeps everything neat and tidy within the case, so it really doesn't add too much hassle to carry it along. Speaking of AirPods, I'll be bringing along my AirPods Pro for the trip. In the past, I've traveled with larger noise cancelling headphones like the Bose QC35s, but the last time I was on a plane, the AirPods Pro actually performed quite well, so I'll just be keeping things light by just taking these. Apple did just announce the 2nd gen AirPods Pro with improved noise cancellation and battery life, which would have been very helpful on this trip, but they won't have them available at the time, so I'll just be sticking with what I have. For my phone, I still use my iPhone 12, which is 2 years old now, but honestly for the things that I use my phone for, even the newly announced iPhone 14 series doesn't quite entice me to upgrade just yet. I mostly just use my phone for navigation and social media while traveling, and the iPhone 12 is still perfectly fine for those things. I do take occasional photos and videos with my phone, but while traveling, I mostly use my mirrorless camera for that. Now, since my phone is 2 years old, the battery is slowly starting to degrade. So one thing I do bring along with me is a small power bank. I use this small Anker 10,000 milliamp hour one for my day adventures. It's usually more than enough to carry me through the day, and it's generally pretty compact so I can keep it in my pocket along with my phone if I have it plugged in. Speaking of day adventures while traveling, we often find ourselves in remote areas without cell phone signal. And if I'm in a group of people, it's not always practical to be together at all times. So because of this, I bring along a few inexpensive walkie-talkies so that we can communicate even when we don't have cell signal. I know it seems like an extreme measure, but I only added these to my travel tech because one time we lost a friend for several hours in a similar situation. It really threw off our plans for the day. So ever since then, I consider these as essential while traveling. We usually rent a car when we travel, and with rental cars, it's hard to predict what you're gonna get. So I usually have a small pouch with some items to prepare for that. In the pouch, I keep a magnetic phone holder to put on the air vent if the car doesn't have Apple CarPlay. That way I have access to GPS directions at a glance. I also keep a phone charging cable in case the car doesn't already accommodate for phone charging. Most of the time these days, cars are generally pretty well equipped, but I just bring these along anyways. A recent change to my travel gear is my drone. I recently got the DJI Mini 3 Pro with the DJI RC controller. I used to have the Mavic Air 2, but I just made the switch a few weeks ago in preparation for this trip. I think this drone is a game changer with the features it packs while still being under 250 grams. And being under 250 grams is the key in determining where you can fly this thing and the rules that apply to you. Also, the new DJI RC remote is amazing. I no longer have to fiddle around with a phone for 5 minutes before I can take off. I did get the Fly More combo to get a couple of extra batteries along with this charging hub and also this carrying case. If you're getting this drone, I recommend also getting this specific configuration with the remote and the Fly More combo. I'll probably make a review of this drone after I try it out on the trip, so make sure to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss it. Now, aside from all this gear that I normally carry around while traveling, there's a few other tech items that I bring along with me and usually leave at the hotel when we go on our day adventures. Like my laptop, for example. I use a Lenovo X1 Yoga. While traveling, I mostly just use it to plan my itinerary and back up my photos and videos. And when we go out for the day, I leave it locked in the hotel so that I don't have to carry it around all day. I also bring along a small mouse like this Logitech MX Anywhere, especially if I plan on editing photos and videos while at the hotel. For storage, I'll be taking my 1TB SanDisk Extreme external SSD. I use it to back up my photos and videos while I'm on the go. My laptop doesn't have enough storage to back up the insane amount of footage that I gather throughout a trip. So 1TB of additional storage goes a long way in that regard. It's very compact and easily fits into small pockets within my backpack. Also, since it doesn't have any moving parts, it's quite durable, so I don't have to be as careful while handling it. And then I have this RAV Power travel router. Now this is more than just a router, it's also an SD card reader and a battery bank, but I only use it for the router part of it. The reason why I bring it along is because oftentimes I find that Wi-Fi at hotels is not very good. So I just power this into the Ethernet port of my room and use the Wi-Fi off of here. It can also connect to hotel's internet wirelessly and broadcast its own Wi-Fi connection for you to connect to. This can be useful in situations where the hotel limits the number of devices each guest can connect to their Wi-Fi. If I use this device, technically only one device is connecting to the hotel's Wi-Fi, and I can connect as many devices to this as I want. Just a little travel hack if you run into that situation. Speaking of leaving things at the hotel, I leave most of my charging gear at the hotel. I have 2 pouches that holds all my charging gear. Now one thing I made sure is that most of my gear can charge via USB. That way I can minimize the number of adapters and cables I need to bring along. I have USB chargers for both my mirrorless camera and my action camera. My drone batteries can charge using USB-C as well as my laptop. To charge all my stuff at night, I have this RAV Power USB charging hub. This has 4 USB-A ports and 1 USB-C power delivery port. With this thing, I can leave all my stuff charging overnight and everything is ready in the morning. Another power related item I bring along is this travel power strip. It's a very unconventional looking power strip, but it's perfect for travel. It folds into a compact circular shape that's easy to throw into my charging pouch. Sometimes the plugs at hotels aren't at ideal locations, so this thing can be pretty handy. Also, it comes with plug adapters for different countries, so it's also great for international travel. One new item I'll be bringing along on this trip is this JBL Bluetooth speaker. The one and only purpose of this speaker is to play some rain sounds as white noise at night so that the baby doesn't wake up from us going to the bathroom or any other sounds. I have this app on my phone called Sleepjar that can play all kinds of white noise, including rain sounds. Normally at home I use our Amazon Echo device to play white noise, but for this trip this will have to do. One last item I'm bringing on this trip is this digital luggage scale. We find ourselves checking in some of our luggage during longer trips, and in order to make sure that our luggage isn't over the weight limit, this thing comes in very handy. If you've ever brought overweight luggage to the check-in counter, you know how much of a hassle it is to deal with that. So this thing helps us make sure that we can avoid those situations. For the most part, that's all the tech I'll be bringing along on this trip. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I do leave some of these items in the hotel once I get to the destination. So when I pack my backpack for my day adventures, not only does everything fit perfectly, but it also keeps things relatively lightweight so that I don't get tired of carrying things throughout the day. When it comes to travel tech, my goal is to keep things minimalistic while making sure that I have the right tools to come back with photos and videos to reflect on the memories. And over the years, the tools I rely on has evolved. I'm sure this won't be the last iteration, but it's definitely what I expect to work best for me at this moment. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button as it really helps with the YouTube algorithm. As always, stay safe and I'll see you again on the next one.